Colleagues, good afternoon and welcome to this digital session at the UN Food Systems Summit by the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry. This session is titled Towards Global Partnerships for Climate Smart and Efficient Food Future. I'm Tobias Kreis and I'm working with the Danish Agriculture and Food Association, the Danish Agriculture and Food Council, and I am also counsel to the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry. Today we are broadcasting from Rome, from our World Farmers Organization, very close to the Food Systems Summit, which has now been on for a few days. We are here in Rome and we are here digitally and globally to call for more climate finance to be mobilized for agriculture and forestry. The Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry joins MTK, the Finnish Trade Union of Agricultural Producers and Forest Owners, DAFC, the Danish Agriculture and Food Council, LTO, the Netherlands Agricultural and Horticultural Association, NAGK, the Dutch Young Farmers, and Agri-Terra, which is the Dutch Agri-Development Agency. The Cooperative Partnership is working with FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, towards a concrete project in Kenya, which colleagues will share insights on in this call as well. However, today we have colleagues from both within and beyond this concrete cooperative partnerships, because we are all actors we're all farmers, representatives, actors in agriculture and forestry who call for climate action. I have a distinguished list of speakers and without much further ado, I will give the floor to them. They have all committed to only speaking maximum 4 minutes, and that is to be sure that there is time also for colleagues who join from our global network to raise their hands and take the floor. I should say that there is a chat function today, so you might also put your comments in the chat function, and then we will try to consult the chat function as we go along and take on some of these questions. The Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry sees the cooperative as a change actor in climate action. Why is that? Well, that is because the farmers' own cooperative sits in a strategically important position above the farmer, the owner of the cooperative, and therefore in a position to be able to guide also the owners towards being more sustainable. The cooperative sits in the value chain and takes a longer perspective to things than perhaps other types of private enterprise. This is what we like to mobilize attention towards. This is what we like to explore further. So without further ado, I would give the floor to our first speaker from the European Commission. His name is Peter Verheyen, and he was formerly in the Cabinet of Agriculture Commissioner Hogan when Mr. Hogan launched the Task Force Rural Africa 2 years ago, which was one of the inspirational sources for the Cooperative Partnership. So, Peter, I will give the floor to you now in Brussels.
Thank you very much, Tobias, and good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear friends. Indeed, Tobias, we have been in touch on this topic while I was working for Commissioner Hogan, and even before when I was working in DG Climate Action, and was at the time also working on the role of agriculture and forestry in climate mitigation. Clearly, foresters and farmers have an essential role to play in both climate mitigation, but also adaptation, obviously. So I think congratulations to all of you for moving this great partnership forward. I think it is very, very important partnership. It ticks many boxes, also related to European level initiatives on climate smart agriculture and forestry. We have also, they are at the heart of the European Green Deal. They are at the heart of the Fit for 55 package that has been proposed in July. At the same time, it is also obvious that we need to work, experiment and develop many methods further on how the concept of climate smart agriculture and forestry can be put into practice and enhanced. Hence, congratulations to you for developing this project further and for mobilizing hopefully money from the Green Climate Fund. I think this is excellent. The second comment I'd like to make is associated with the fact that now I'm in DG Research and Innovation. The role of research and innovation, from my point of view, is also essential in the context of such an ambitious, novel project as yours. One of the associated challenges is to develop innovation that is accepted by the local farmers and the foresters, or to combine indigenous knowledge, just transition, and cutting-edge science to meet multiple objectives. That's not easy. On the side of the European Union, we have made a good experience with multi-stakeholder engagement in developing research innovation agendas, but also ensuring that the actionable innovation is really identified and co-created with the farmers and the foresters. We are using living laboratories, lighthouse farms. They will play an important role on our side in testing possible innovations, for instance, in the context of a proposed research mission on soil health and food. My third comment would simply be that overall this project would also very well fit into the framework of a sustainable and circular bioeconomy, which in Europe is also very high on the agenda. We have an EU bioeconomy strategies. Many member states, including Finland, for instance, has a bioeconomy strategy. But we also have many regions in Europe, 50 regions that have bioeconomy strategies. And I could imagine that embedding this project into a regional bioeconomy strategy could also be an additional selling point for the project. Overall, I think this is an excellent initiative, and I would like to congratulate all of you who are engaged in the process, and good luck in implementing it. And I will continue to be very interested in seeing the progress made on the project. Back to you, Tobias.
Thank you very much for these kind and encouraging words, Peter. We will certainly explore what you suggest us to do as we go forward now in the coming months. I take this opportunity also to since we are organizing this as a normal Teams meeting from a technical perspective, to encourage the speakers to please raise your hands as you come towards your time in the list of speakers. Next in line is the CEO of Agri-Terra, the Dutch Agri Development Agency, with whom we're working in the Cooperative Partnership. Mr. Kees Bloodland on my side here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tobias, and thank you all the participants for this meeting and for being here, and also to the World Farmers Organization for hosting this event. Very special. I would like to focus my intervention from the point of view of forests, of deforestation, of forest degradation. I think it's becoming one of the biggest issues in climate in Africa. 29% of deforestation and forest degradation in Africa is poverty driven. And there is much attention in the world for deforestation, which is driven by commodity production, by timber, by soy, by palm oil, or animal husbandry. But poverty-driven deforestation is big in Africa. 92% of all deforestation in Africa is because of slash and burn agriculture. People using forests for food, for food production, for heating, for cooking, and it's becoming a bigger problem now. Poverty is on the rise in Africa, due also to population increases. And of course, the way out of it is by economic development. And that basically is something that isn't said too often, but to fight climate change, one needs economic development on big scale and get people out of poverty. And that means, and Tobias already referred to it, the working of cooperatives, because they are essential for cooperative development, for equal economic development, for economic development starting in rural areas. They are key. They take people out of poverty, out of agriculture, into new economic sectors, in processing, in trade, and that's really what is needed. And what is needed also is that then the agricultural production intensifies. So more productivity, more production, better quality, done by less people and on using less land. And really this initiative about this cooperative partnership is about land sparing. It's about using not more land, not taking more land into production, but using less land, more productive, making it more productive in order to fight climate change. And this is a really essential element of our way of approaching things. Thank you very much, Tobias.
Thank you very much, Kees, for underscoring the importance of the cooperative as a vector for economic development. Now, our next speaker is from the room next door in the World Farmers Organization. Amber Raki, you are the policy officer in charge, and I give the floor to you now.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you very much for the introduction. I couldn't be more happy to finally be in the same office. We are lucky really to have the chance to meet again our members and see our farmers and exchange in person. This is really invaluable. I'm really happy about this, and thank you for having me today. Let me say, there couldn't be a better time to talk about partnerships for a climate smart and efficient food future within this Food System Summit we are also experiencing today, but also towards the other huge appointment we have this year, which is COP26. In WFO, we represent more than 70 farmers' organizations, meaning more than 1 billion farmers across the globe. And no matter the location, global north, global south, our farmers share a common challenge, which is the one of climate change and the fight against it. This is a top priority for them, and they are already doing so much to adapt to it and be resilient, while also mitigating emissions for the sustainability, first of all, of their businesses and of food systems. That is why in 2018, in WFO, we launched the Claymakers, a farmers-driven climate change agenda with the goal to put farmers at the very center of any debate around climate change and the agricultural sector and food systems. But how we did this? First of all, through partnership, and this is the core of this event as well. The Claymakers is first and foremost an alliance composed by farmers of the world, not only the World Farmers Organization, the private sector representing the seeds, the fertilizers and the plant protection products, civil society, media and technical partners, and of course science through CCAFs, which is the CGIAR Agency for Climate Change and Food Security. The work we do within the Claymakers is mainly gather best practices and solutions worldwide from the farmers of all sectors, spanning from arable farming to livestock to forestry, their cooperatives and their organizations, to showcase what they are already implementing every day to fight climate change, be resilient while also mitigating. And this is also where science jumps in. CCAFs is assessing each and every practice against the climate smartness criteria to make sure that any solution of the farmers is science-based. All this data, of course, is going to feed and is feeding the advocacy work of the Alliance, which is one of the pillars of the initiative itself. bringing those solutions on the tables where policies are shaped, where the national and global climate action is shaped. Our main target is for sure the climate negotiations. We are going to COP26 this year, and the implementation of the Paris Agreement. And the main goal of the Alliance of Decline Makers is to make sure that those national plans take into account what farmers are already doing to fight against climate change. There are so many examples, and I will be happy to share some links in the chat to show you. And we also brought to the attention of this summit, these days of the Food System Summit, in which WFO is working really hard to bring the farmers' voice. And we presented not only this, but also the climate makers practices as game-changing solution. And it is not just to raise awareness of what farmers are doing and of the farmer-driven action towards the sustainability of food systems, but we want also to make sure that those solutions can be scaled up by making pool of actors, resources, which is the core of the Food System Summit, but also cross-fertilization among other projects, the one also that you are presenting today. This is really the core of the Food System Summit, but also what we will go to say at COP26. So I will be more than happy to share more information in the chat, and now I will hand over to you, Tobias. We have so many speakers and so many people that would like to speak. So thank you.
Very much, Ambra, for also underscoring the importance of the developing country national determined contributions, which we, the global community of farmers and foresters, would like to help implement. Now, our next speaker is the first was supposed to be the first in line. Now she will be the last in line of the first row of speakers. Ambassador Carla Mukavi, who's the FAO Kenya representative. I understand that you're here with us, and we are pleased to welcome you. Please take raise your hand and take the floor and over to Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Tobias. Let me really recognize the participants and greeting from FAO Kenya in Nairobi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm really pleased to take part in this important event. And I really wish to thank the Cooperative Partnerships that joins Agritera, the Dutch, the Danish and the Finnish farmers and foresters, and the other partners for really organizing this dialogue under the auspices of the Food System Summit, which is another milestone. Let me say that the negative impact of climate change places major challenges to Kenya agriculture sector and the overall food security and nutrition. Just to say that only this year over 2 million Kenyans are facing a food security crisis that is caused by reduced rainfall in 2 consecutive seasons. And this is coupled with the scourge of desert locust invasion and COVID-19. We should not really forget that we are really challenged by COVID-19. Of course, to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement, the Kenya government is committed to reduce the greenhouse emission by 32% by 2030. And the cost to achieve the adaptation and mitigation actions is estimated at USD 62 billion. The government of Kenya is confident of realizing those targets even earlier than 2030, actually by 2025. More so because I should say that there are clear roadmaps and the strategic policies in place to achieve those set targets. Case example is the existence of the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Implementation Strategy and Framework that ran from 2018 to 2027 that was developed by the Ministry of Agriculture, of course, including other relevant parties, that guide various innovative and transformative initiatives to address challenges that are brought by climate change. Another evidence that I would like to share is really the preparedness that FAO is really supporting to our office in Kenya. Of course, the office in Kenya is the GCF accredited entity. And we are really facilitating the delivery of a GCF project on NAP readiness to Kenya government to achieve institutional readiness, knowledge, and information support to public and private sector partners. I am glad to recognize the presence of the NDA here with us today, with whom we have been working closely in these regards and really attaining tangible results. So let me say that the FAO is committed to continue working with various partners to assist the government in mobilizing financial resources to achieve the country's ambition goals to address climate change and improve climate resilience, focusing really on agriculture producers and the producers' cooperatives in the country, particularly women who are really the most affected. So I just conclude by saying that this meeting really enhances our partnerships and sends a strong signal to the world that the implementation of the Paris Agreement is the only viable solution, and together in partnership we can attain this goal. And let me say that in this regard, really developed countries need to assist developing countries to achieve their national determined contribution targets and build climate resilience. So we stand ready as Kenya to play our role in really making this happen. Thank you, Tobias, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your encouraging words and, of course, for the support and partnership by FAO in Kenya for the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry. The next speaker is from outside our partnership, but equally engaged in global climate action. He is the Vice President of the German Farmers Association, Deutscher Bauernverband, and the Chairman of AgriCourt. Welcome to.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody, and thank you for allowing me to join this meeting. First, fighting the climate change can only be successful if we all act together on a global level. We've seen the huge damages of recent floods in Germany and other parts of Europe. And if it's caused from the climate change, we must act most urgently. And to act is a key factor to have a global exchange among farmers. We all can and must learn and benefit from each other by having an exchange of ideas and experiences. For the German Farmers Association, the exchange with national farmers' organizations in countries all over the world has always been a priority. For us, strengthening farmers' organizations and cooperatives is a fundamental step in the fight against climate change. Farmers are the first to suffer from upcoming weather extremes, and at the same time, they do play a crucial role in the protection of climate. Therefore, we need practical solutions of farmers and cooperatives. We need strong alliances like we have, for example, with AgriCourt. And finally, we need public and private donors with solid financial resources. For instance, it is good to see how a cooperative partnership between youth representatives, policy officers, and representatives of different farmers' organizations work together with global organizations like the FAO to form a network of constructive exchange and mutual empowerment, especially for developing countries. So I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to discuss this issue with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swart, for your emphasis on the need for practical solutions and alliances. The next speaker on the floor is Peter Odenko. He's from the National Treasury of Planning and the government of Kenya, with whom the Cooperative Partnership has joined forces. So it's a big pleasure for me to welcome you to the floor, Mr. Odenko.
So thank you very much, Keith. I hope you can hear me.
We hear very well.
Oh, great. So it is truly a great pleasure on behalf of the Kenya government and also our partner FAO that we have worked with since 2017 on developing two critical projects. One which they are now implementing has been said by Carla, that is NAP readiness, which we have achieved very significant good results. And also, of course, the next one, which is now being worked with Agritera and the team that are sitting here. Colleagues, Kenya has shown the way that climate change is not an emergency, but it is now happening. It has happened. What you are seeing in Europe and America has been happening to us in Kenya. And we have developed a number of strategies, and farmers are at the centrality of the impact, and they are the people who are feeling the impact. Unfortunately, interventions that have been taken over the last 10 years have not put the lowest of the lowest farmers into the center of how to respond to the climate change. Today marks a very great opportunity where resources through the Green Climate Fund that we've been working with is now going to take support to the lowest level. This would have not come at a better time. Yesterday in Kenya, we were just negotiating with the World Bank on financing locally led climate action program called FLOCA, which is mobilizing funds to support local communities to build their local resilience at the village level. That means that with our devolved government, we are now devolving climate finance to the last mile, last youth, last child, and last woman on the ground. It is indeed very important. We can share with you the private sector is very key in supporting the government in realizing this objective. Our upgraded NDC requires enormous amount of money, but those resources, as we commit our little resources of 30%, we need support from our development partner parties, support for long-term climate finance, support for the predictable resources to address the gigantic problem of climate change. We know it. It has been said, it has been documented. Finally, it is also just coming at a time when Kenya, being the first African country, just launched our climate finance landscape in March, 3 months ago. And when you see the flows of the money of about $4.3 billion that flowed into Kenya in 2018, 2019, 80% went to energy sources. Less than 30%, 28%, went to address climate adaptation. And that is where more than 80% of the population is. This program, if fast-tracked today, will no doubt support our endeavor to change and move towards a net zero carbon neutrality by 2050, but at the same time realizing our obligation of transiting by 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Odenko, for really putting emphasis on the need for more climate finance in agriculture and forestry to change this number of 80% of the climate finance going to the energy sector, and to improve the understanding of the need for developed countries to also help developing countries implement the Paris Agreement, because we will only reach the goals of the Paris if all NDCs are implemented, and not only the NDCs in the developed world. Our next speaker is from here in Rome, from the FAO Office for Climate, Biodiversity and Environment. We had the chance to meet physically yesterday for the first time. Please welcome Nadine Vallée.
Thank you, Tobias, and good morning to everyone. Good afternoon, sorry, to everyone. I guess we are all in the same time zone. So it's a big honor to be participating to this side event. And just would like to focus my intervention on maybe the bigger picture. I'm sure you're all aware of it, but we have more than 2 billion poor or near poor people living in rural areas, and they depend on agriculture for their livelihoods. And I think many speakers have already said it, agriculture is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And I think we all recognize that the way we grow and produce food is part of the climate problem. Agriculture, forestry, related land use changes are responsible, according to FAO, for almost 1/4 of human-induced greenhouse gas emissions. So that's quite frightening. But agriculture, and again, we have said this before, as the speakers have said it, is also part of the solution, and that's why we are here. And we, in FAO, we do believe that it is a time to invest in more sustainable, more productive, innovative agricultural practices that can go from better water management, drought-resistant crop, mixed forestry and livestock systems, and so on. And I think these are some of the ideas that we would like to work on together with the NDA of Kenya and the Cooperative Partnership to bring forward an interesting proposal to the Green Climate Fund. FAO works with countries to make our food systems more sustainable, and by leveraging global partnerships, FAO catalyzes public and private investments in agriculture to promote those climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies and drive the United Nations SDGs, in particular SDG 13. Since 2016, FAO has been accredited to the Green Climate Fund, which finances projects that helps developing countries scale up their efforts to meet the Paris Agreement target of keeping the global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. Many of the previous speakers again have mentioned it. The next COP will be a very important milestone to take stock of the results and efforts that are still required. And again, this is why the proposed partnership is really very important. It will be a good step forward in supporting Kenya in achieving its results, its objectives. The FAO GCF partnership falls within the overall efforts of FAO on climate change. So FAO does support countries on climate change adaptation and mitigation actions beyond the GCF. We are a very active partner with the Global Environment Facility, GEF, but also we have a number of projects with other bilateral donors, for example, Germany. And we have actually currently a climate change strategy, which is being revised, and that will be guiding, and as we are speaking, it's being revised and will be guiding FAO further efforts in the field of climate change. Countries, in particular African states, least developed countries, small islands, urgently need access to climate finance to achieve the adaptation and emission reduction targets that have been laid out in their nationally determined contributions, which again will be revised at the next COP in November. Through the strategic partnership FAO and GCF have built, we have currently a portfolio as FAO of close to 880 million for country-driven projects that build climate resilience and again help countries achieve their commitments under the Paris Agreement. As an accredited entity, FAO supports the member countries' efforts to access climate finance for transformative, country-driven projects that limit or reduce greenhouse gas emission and help vulnerable communities adapt to the impacts of climate change. I think Carla mentioned women as a particularly a target of our efforts, of our projects with the GCF. We also work in many countries with indigenous peoples, the guardians of the world forest, as they are key actors in the climate change actions. We're currently leading 15 transformative projects in 5 regions, and we support 48 readiness projects. And the NDA of Kenya mentioned Kenya as one of the countries for which with whom FAO is working as a delivery partner for a National Adaptation Plan Readiness Grant. We strongly appreciate the support that Agritera and the Danish Food Council intend to provide to FAO to support African countries access climate finance for transformative and innovative projects. FAO and the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry have identified Kenya, followed by Ethiopia, as priority countries for intervention. We are currently discussing the contractual arrangements, and hopefully very soon we will be successfully concluding these discussions and formulate an ambitious climate project to enable Kenya meet its NDCs and promote climate resilient agriculture through involvement of cooperatives. Thank you very much.
Very much. We will be looking forward to working with you and colleagues in Kenya as we pursue this interesting journey together. Now, I will pass the floor north to the Cooperative Partners, and the first of them is my colleague from Copenhagen, Jan Lawson. Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to join this important side event to the pre-summit of the Food System Summit. Well, the previous speakers have already highlighted a number of relevant issues related to the future challenges and how to handle them. To me, the partnerships are key to becoming successful. So in my intervention, I'm focusing on what we can do if we work together. My name is Jan Lawson. I'm representing the Danish Agriculture and Food Council in Denmark. It's a business organization, and among our members are the Danish farmers, the cooperatives, and a vast number of companies within the value chain. We have built our organization on cooperation and knowledge sharing, and the cooperative sector is becoming very strong in Denmark and having an international mindset, and by staying competitive. We all face actually the same global challenges, securing sufficient and safe food for growing population, and at the same time producing and consuming in a sustainable and climate-friendly way. We need to find ways to become more resilient to climate changes and to reduce instability and risks in farming globally. For centuries in Denmark, we've been improving, adjusting, and adapting methods, structures, products, and solutions in the Danish food cluster. And we are ready and able to share our knowledge and expertise with colleagues around the world. We are happy that we have been able to establish the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry together with our Finnish and Dutch colleagues and the Dutch Agri-Development Agency, Agritera. We have a lot in common in our partnership, but we can also complement each other. And in order to live up to the Paris Agreement, a lot has to be done. In Denmark, we have already established in our food cluster a clear vision to become climate neutral by 2050. And the implementation of new climate smart solutions and measures have already started. We have the knowledge and methods to live up to more than half of the climate neutrality. And as mentioned, we're willing to share. Recently, we have established in Denmark a global task force on climate, bringing together knowledge from farmers, cooperatives, private companies, and the advisory sector. There's a clear commitment in that group to have a global approach in implementing climate smart solutions in farming. So our focus is to assist farmers and cooperatives in handling the climate challenges nationally and internationally. Even though the national and the natural conditions differ, droughts, floodings, pests, and diseases are common challenges for all farmers. The magnitude of disasters and risks are different, but still the livelihood of farmers, their cooperatives, and the local communities can be severely hit. So in relation to the Food System Summit, we need to find ways forward that will assist especially the most vulnerable farming communities. So how to reduce food insecurity and increase resilience to climate change is becoming a global headache. And our ambition is to find solutions and bring knowledge into action. And we have gained knowledge in every part of the value chain. This knowledge can be activated in a global context. So together with our colleagues from Finland and the Netherlands, we are ready to create partnerships and participate in projects delivering on a sustainable, climate smart, and efficient food future. Together, we have a lot to offer. First step is the project mentioned in Kenya, and we hope many other projects will come in the future. So let me just conclude by underlining the importance of partnerships. By partnerships, you're in a better position to manage future challenges. So let's work together. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jan. And I will pass on the floor now to another corporate partner on my right hand, Johanna from LTO.
Yes, thank you, Tobias. As a farmer's son, for all the high-level talk and acronyms, I'd like to talk like a farmer. I work for the Dutch Farmers Association, LTO, Netherlands. We are a member of the World Farmers Organization and one of the founding organizations of AgriTerra. I think the importance of having organized farmers on the ground in cooperatives, and the cooperative structure is very much developed in the Netherlands as well, like in Denmark and Finland. This is crucial for buy-in of solutions, for the implementation of climate smart solutions. And I'd like to stress that farmers have a lot of good ideas. So our initiative is not just about the power of cooperation, but also about the power of ideas. And if we are well organized as farmers, we can unlock those ideas and contribute to solutions, reaching food security and also contributing to finding a climate neutral future. Climate smart solutions. So climate will be top of our agendas for the next decade. That's why we are excited to get this going. And thanks to our colleagues from Denmark, Finland, FAO, Kenya, and also the Young Farmers of the Netherlands for our cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna, and thank you for mentioning the power of ideas, and indeed the power of ideas from the field. Now to Finland, to Juha Rupio, who's the Director of International and EU Affairs at the Finnish Central Union for Agricultural Producers. You have the floor.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you for arranging this meeting. I just have a few points before I'm leaving the floor to Sanna-Liisa Taivalmaa, who is from our Minister of Foreign Affairs, dealing with agriculture and forestry issues. But anyhow, just 3 points what I have remarked in last 2 days. It is one of those things is that we must have local, regional, national arrangements or solutions for the discussion, especially after listening Dutch Minister of Agriculture, and while she was referring that the productivity is not the issue in Holland anymore. It is the circular economy and circularity in agriculture. It is just a remark that there is different point like biodiversity, circularity, which must be taken very seriously at the same time. The second point is the deforestation, which was mentioned quite many times in the last 2 days, and also Mr. Verheim and Mr. Bloodland has referred that. And I think the point is there what Mr. Verheim mentioned, that the bioeconomy and especially how the renewable energy is available on a local level, that is the key issue. So that the charcoal and the wood for heating and cooking is one of those big issues which must have a solution in climate issues. Then the third point is the climate funding, and as we have learned quite often that only less than 2% is going to smallholders. So that gives an impression that the adaptation challenge is so huge that we are perhaps forgotten that the key issue, that what is there on farm level and smallholder level, what needs to have that solution. But anyhow, those was just 3 points what I have learned in last 2 days. But perhaps Sanna-Liisa, you can continue on Finnish governmental point on development activities and especially these climate issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Juha, and good afternoon from my part also. So it's very nice to be in this event. First of all, I could not agree more with Jan on the importance of the partnerships. I think we have heard this several times in the Food Summit, maybe in almost all statements, how important the partnerships are. And I think that this event is one example of how the know-how of different partners complements each other. I will focus on my brief on forestry sector that has, as Kim mentioned earlier, a key role in fight against climate change. Finland's forest sector cooperation is based on partnership with governments, international funds such as Green Climate Fund, as well as academia and development partners. Forest and carbon inventories are important thematic areas in our cooperation. This provide invaluable information for estimating the amount of and changes in carbon stocks of forests. The Natural Resource Institute of Finland is among the world leading public institutions in forest resource assessment. Additionally, I would like to highlight that with Finland's funding, FAO has developed an information system for mapping forest resources and processing forest data. Using free open forest software, countries can map their forest resources in a reliable manner. The software is already in use more than 50 countries. But as all you know, the forest sector is not alone. We must remember, both at policy level and practical implementation of project, that the forest sector has strong linkages between food, water, and energy in natural systems, sectoral policies, and socio-economic structures. We underline understanding of these linkages called nexus approach in our development cooperation. Finally, I would like to highlight the role of women in forestry and farmers' organizations. As we have heard in the Food System Summit, that the women though women and other groups, that nobody should be left behind, and that we are talking about women and indigenous people, and in the forest sector, I think it's one of the issues that we are not fully maybe not understood, or maybe understood, but that has not been involved in actions in practice. So traditionally, men and women access, use, and manage forest landscapes differently. In our experience, women are crucial actors in forest management. So their full involvement, decision-making in tree growers association, farmers unions, and forest-related institutes is essential for sustainable results. I think everybody agrees on that, but we need to see this implemented in practice also. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. And back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Talveni, for this insight from the forest in Finland, and for underscoring the importance of accounting. Indeed, accounting of carbon removed and carbon mitigated is extremely important, and of course there is invaluable Finnish expertise in this respect in the forestry sector. Our last panelist who is going to intervene is a young farmer from the Netherlands, the former president of the Dutch Young Farmers. André Achman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tobias. First of all, I will thank all the partners for organizing this event. I think a lot of good points are really made already, so I will be really short, I think. I think climate change is a global challenge and therefore requires a joint approach. After all, we as young farmers are also one of the first to be affected by the consequences of this. Climate change does not stop at the border, so let's work together. After all, farmers can also offer joint solutions in this dossier. If we work together and exchange experiences and knowledge with colleagues, and I mean at farm level, around the world, we can overcome this challenge, and we work towards food security. So that's my point.
Thank you very much, André. And now we're in the situation that we actually a little bit like in the Eurocup. that we perhaps our best place going into a little bit of extra time, because now we have had all the panelists who have had the chance to intervene, but we are committed to also giving the voice and the floor to colleagues from our global networks and colleagues who have found their way into this dialogue. So now is the time to raise your hand. If you have a comment or a reflection or a question that you would like to put to this global audience of distinguished speakers and practitioners in agriculture and forestry. I do see colleagues whom I have not seen before. We are in an audience that is both known and unknown, and therefore also open. I see that some people have put some comments in the chat box. There's been a recognition of the intervention of the NDA in Kenya, which is very appropriate, and with whom we are looking forward to developing this project. And now I see a raised hand from Tina Huivio. Tina Huivio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for the very interesting presentations. We have been working in a Finnish NGO called FFD, very close to MTK. We have been working lots with smallholders planting trees, and there it's obvious that when you're looking at solutions for adaptation and mitigation, the measurements and the tools to ensure that the transaction cost when taking on board smallholders needs to be reduced. I would like to know if you have been discussing about modalities of building new applications or new approaches to engage and reach out towards the farmers using the digital tools.
Tobias, you are muted. I don't know if you...
Thank you, Amber. And thank you, Tina, for this question, I guess, which it is addressed to our forestry colleagues. So I would call on Juha, perhaps, to address Tina's intervention. Hi. Juha, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tina, for pushing up the issue to the forestry side. Of course, it is one of those tasks which must be think at the first level or first stage. I would say that the thinking there is to start with the agriculture issues and then go further on to the issues like what you mentioned, that if there's a possibility to plant trees and have extra carbon sequestration, that is of course an additional part of the story and a good part of that. But I would say that of course the productivity issue is one of those starting points, and the cooperation with on a cooperative level, it is a key issue there as a discussion point. So it is there in the future. I would say also in this project we have forestry related or agroforestry related issues there, but not in this stage, if I have understood correctly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juha. I currently do not see other raised hands in the chat. That doesn't mean that colleagues might not be waiting to intervene. And if so, we still have a few more minutes left, aiming to close this meeting at 2:30. here in Rome. So if you have, I guess this is the last moment. It's a little bit like in football that yeah, there's so soccer. The floor is yours. You are muted. Well, if you don't take the floor, then we keep it open for other colleagues to intervene. What I have taken from this discussion today is a big commitment from speakers from across the world, from Europe, from Africa, from farmers and foresters, from colleagues in multilateral organizations to move from talk to action. And in moving from talk to action and seeking to implement the Paris Agreement, to move into partnerships, to move with partnerships for climate action. And that is what we try to do. That is what we believe we can do in a very efficient manner if we mobilize the cooperative as the change actor. We do have in Finland, in Denmark, and in the Netherlands some good experience with cooperative movements. We have seen how cooperatives in our countries have been able to empower the farmers, the owners, to not be the small actors in global markets that are sometimes rough, but really to rather profit from the markets and be actors for change. And we believe that this experience is also valuable as we take on the global climate challenge. And we believe that cooperatives in developing countries, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, in other countries, might be very well and strategically placed to help implement Paris Agreement, to help developing countries implement commitments, conditional commitments in their NDCs that need to be implemented in order for the world to reach the targets that have been set for ourselves for 2030. So this is the spirit with which we move forward from now on, from here in Rome, from the Global Food System Summit. And now I see an important hand which has been raised by Peter. So please, Peter Odenko from the National Treasury and Planning and the Government of Kenya, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Keith. I just want a small clarification because this is one of the pioneer lighthouse partnership that is coming up with innovation, particularly in cooperatives that have been left out. Do you think by the time we are going to Glasgow, where there would be a likelihood of either getting the Paris Agreement to make some kind of an announcement that Kenya, in collaboration with this partnership, are now delivering or working to deliver this project? Over to you.
Thank you very much. That is indeed our intention. And that is what we're working for. And we are indeed going to Glasgow. And in Glasgow, we will be seeking to continue this discussion. We will find platforms and fora in order to do that in Glasgow. And we will be reaching out to you again. And we'll welcome you back on new occasions to continue this dialogue. Now, I believe that for today, in Rome, in Kenya, in Northern Europe, across the world, we will conclude the session. And thank you all for your participation, for your thoughts and insights and good ideas. But most of all, thank you very much for your spirit of partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Have a good day. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.